Salutations, my fellow dudes and dudettes, and welcome to the second extra video for Sonic the Hedgehog 2. I had to go out of my way to find this. This is Sonic the Lost Levels, or Lost Worlds. Basically, this ROM is a compilation of all the levels that were ultimately scrapped by the end of Sonic 2's development. And I'm actually going to be showing off all the levels. Now, I'm not going to be showing them all off in their entirety. I'm only going to be showing off one act from each. That doesn't necessarily mean that I'm going to be showing, like, Act 1 for each level. I'm going to be showing Act 2 for, like, 3 of them, I believe. Because, for what it's worth, this ROM is pretty meaty. There's actually a lot more levels scrapped than you would be shocked to know of. Everyone talks about Hidden Palace, and that's going to be one of the later levels for this ROM. But alright, well, anyways, welcome to Dust Hill. Now every zone in this ROM, there's a pretty good reason why it was eventually scrapped. In this level's case, it's the enemy placement. It's kind of a prelude to Metropolis Zone, because it's really, really bad with Dust Hill Zone. Like, shell crackers are all over the place in the worst kind of areas. There's actually bottomless pits in the bottom, in the bottom section in some parts, and those bottomless pits are actually really hard to notice because, like, the bottomless pit itself is just like the pit is just a darker color compared to the rest of the terrain, and you could easily just like you could just fall down that pit without realizing it was there. And I've actually fallen to quite a few when I was actually playing this for the first time, so that was really obnoxious. Rock Zone, for one, it showed, apparently the 2-player Mystic Cave Zone, it was originally supposed to be the theme for this zone. Now the biggest problem with Rock Zone is that it's brown. It is completely brown, minus the sunset. I actually think the sunset is a nice touch. But this zone is completely brown. That's all you're really getting out of it. The Rexons from Hilltop, the purple snake dinosaur things that like to pop out of the lava, they're actually red in this one. And they look kind of neat, but the level design can be really confusing because since everything is brown, everything kind of looks the same. It's hard to tell what the foreground is, what the background is, and that's outright irritating at certain points. Not to mention, I think the spike placement could have used a bit of work, because there's actually a handful of slopes, and like right at the top of that slope is just a few spikes, and that's really annoying. So it's like, what gives? Oh, this part's kind of annoying. Like, don't use any input when you're getting on that spring. Yeah, see that right there, that's mean. You have to get a little bit of speed if you want to get over that. I also do apologize if the footage is a bit choppy. Since this is a ROM, I obviously had to use an emulator, and there was a few issues recording the emulator because it would chug a lot when it generally played fine when I was just playing it, but the second I hit that record button, I was having some issues here and there. Here are the Rexons I actually just mentioned. So that's pretty cool, I suppose. Otherwise, yeah, Rock Zone, it's aesthetically boring. The music's fantastic at the very least, and I like the color for the Rexons. Alright, now we got Wood Zone. And, do you get? I don't blame you if you guys don't. If you all don't remember. But the second Let's Play I did was Sonic 1 for the Game Gear Master System, and one of the levels of that was Jungle Zone. The second act of that zone was just going up a whole lot, and this is kind of what, and Wood Zone, that's kind of what it is. Yeah, because that's totally not confusing right there. But yeah, you're climbing a giant tree, and this is where the slicers appear. But to be honest, compared to Metropolis Zone, which, speaking of which, this is actually playing the beta version of the Metropolis Zone track. This is what it sounds like before the finished product. And I think it sounds pretty nice. It is fitting considering the kind of level we're in. There's trees everywhere. And again, it's a very vertical level. You're climbing up a lot of trees in order to progress. And unfortunately, this kind of makes the level drag on for a little bit. And not the biggest fan of that. Again, I think the slices have better placement, but that's only because you're doing more platforming than you are running. And you could argue the level design is more catered towards a Mario gameplay style as opposed to a Sonic gameplay style. Because all you're doing is you're going up, you're jumping on platforms and stuff. There's rarely any moments where you're actually going fast. There are a few instances sprinkled here and there with Wood Zone, but otherwise, yeah. Now, at the very least, the aesthetic is much more pleasing on the eyes. I mean, kind of just like Rock Zone, there's way too much brown, but at least there's like a foresty sort of aesthetic, and it does look kind of alright. I believe the tree assets, or at least like the assets for the leaves, they ended up using that yeah, they ended up using it for Aquatic Ruin to a degree. I think the ones in Aquatic Ruin are a brighter color. Alright, so apparently they decided to put the Oil Ocean boss in this zone, and this boss is actually much more annoying than that one, because I would completely advise against just going gung-ho, because since there's no oil at the bottom, if you fall, that's it, you just die. Oh, and apparently the lasers that this thing shoots are green, which is kind of nice. But yeah, take your time with this. I got super aggressive the first time I tried this, and I paid the ultimate price, so that wasn't fun. And with my first playthrough of this ROM, I was super paranoid at a few points. I was gonna get a game over, and I would be forced to play through Dust Hill Zone, and I hate Dust Hill Zone. That enemy placement is just, it's garbage. I hate it. But yeah, that was Wood Zone. A better level than the previous two, but it's nothing great, honestly. But oh boy, if we gotta talk aesthetics, ooh, the next level it's painful. Welcome to Winter Zone. The music in the background is Emerald Hill 2-player mode, and this level's, oh man, it's an eyesore. The aesthetic is winter, which is kind of nice, despite the fact that the level design isn't all that great, and again, they didn't know what they were doing when they were creating this level, because look, there is, not to sound racist, but this is the whitest level I've ever seen in a video game. Minus, I guess the only one that comes to mind is that one chapter in Super Paper Mario. That's kind of a stretch, though. Because there's a reason why it's super white in that one. I guess one positive note, you can actually take out the asteroids in this level, so rejoice. Oh, and apparently the octopuses, they actually have a different attack in this stage. Usually, like in Oil Ocean, they would just hop a little and they would just shoot a projectile at you. However, in this one, some of them will actually, like, they'll hop up, but then they'll just, like, speed, they'll just go, to, whatever direction they're facing. And just like Dust Hill Zone, if you're on the bottom routes, there's bottomless pits, and I think it's even worse here. Being able to tell. I mean, the bottomless pits are designated by like the stripes in the background, because otherwise you're just standing on you're just standing on the regular terrain. But I don't know, man. Like, this level design is even worse. I think there's actually a bottomless pit over here at some point. If not, it's in the second act, and I don't want to show that off because this level was, ugh. It didn't hurt my eyes, but I wouldn't be surprised if it did. Not to mention, in this level, you get severely punished for trying to go fast, because you got all those little block platforms from Metropolis, which stab you whenever you, yeah. It's annoying. It's bad. I hate Winter Zone so much. I mean, minus the white parts, it still looks nice otherwise. Alright, now this is the zone you're probably expecting to see. And it makes sense why this was eventually brought back into the mobile version of Sonic the Hedgehog 2. The Christian Whitehead version. I would love to record that if it was on a console. There's no way in heck I feel comfortable recording this off of a phone. However, this is unsurprisingly the best level of this ROM because its level design is fantastic, the music is great. It's actually the only track in the game that still exists in the sound test, but it's just not used anywhere. So they at least managed to get the music into the game. They might not have gotten the level, but at least we got an idea as to what the level might have looked like. The aesthetic is eye-catching. I love this level, how it looks. Unfortunately, there are some assets, or at least there are some there are certain areas where you're going to notice a little emerald, and there's like going to be a little tube going downwards. Unfortunately, this ROM didn't like fully program that gimmick into the zone, because you're supposed to jump on the emerald and you're supposed to be able to go down the chute. Fortunately, they weren't able to get that into this level. You'll also want to be careful here. There's a few bottomless pits. And just like Aquatic Ruin, if you know what you're doing, you don't spend too long in the water. So that's pretty cool. It's a water level where you don't have to spend a lot of time in the water. Sorry, something happened with the emulator for a second. I don't know what happened there. It was weird. But we should be at the end. The badniks are actually really well designed. I actually think, I wish they did more than just walk left and right, because I'm just reminded of all the enemies in the USA Mario 2. They just move. They look really nice. I wish they just did other things. Alright, now this is actually the only zone that managed to make it into the final product, but aesthetically, it's radically different. Like Casino Night, the music is also quite different. These are the crawls. I actually think they look better in this one than they do in the finished product. It does clash. I'll admit that. So the coloration for the crawls make more sense. I don't know. I'm a sucker for that blue hue. It's really nice. Which, speaking of aesthetic, I can understand why they had to change this level a little bit, because there's an abundance of pink and green. It is all over the place in this level. It's not an eyesore, not in the slightest, but it is... I guess the developers saw the aesthetic as kind of boring, lazy, because it's like you got some other colors here. You got some blue, and you got some blue, some black, some red here and there, but there's so much pink and green that they was like, okay, yeah, there's way too much of the same two colors. And Casino Night is actually almost one-to-one level design wise. You can also tell this boss was still being worked upon because you could just stand on the left or right and just cheese the boss that way. I mean, you could still do it the same fight Robotnik the intended way as in the finished product, but I guess they didn't think that far ahead at that moment. Also, you're gonna notice when you're playing Casino Night that like the level design is almost one-to-one, but there are some sections of it that are just kind of not finished or whatever. Like, for example, the springs that shoot you diagonally, like, they didn't fully get the spring, like the little pinball spring aesthetic. It's hard to explain. They just had a lone spring that you would just, whatever. I'm ranting at this point about a spring. It's kind of silly when I think about it. And this is alright. This is the last level of the stage of the ROM, and I do not know where I'm not sure what happened, because for some reason, because I've seen this in other areas where Cyber City is apparently in some I want to say in some ROMs. I'm stuttering a lot. I apologize. I didn't get a lot of sleep last night. It's starting to get to me. Apparently there's another version of this level where it's like Halloween themed as opposed to computer-esque. So I'm not sure what that was about. If I could get some intel on that, I would appreciate that. But with the level itself, the level design itself isn't bad, but for some stupid reason, they decided to implement the Sky Chase enemies in this zone. I'm hoping this isn't from the person that made the ROM, because I would feel a little bit upset about that, because, oh my gosh, I'm so glad that the Sky Chase enemies were implemented into the actual Sky Chase zone later, because they do not work in this zone at all. With the Turtleoids, they just keep going. They might even clip through walls. The Nebulas will catch you off guard, because like I say, if you stand underneath them, they drop bombs on you. And the Bakris just come out of nowhere sometimes. And it's like, I'd be impressed if you managed to get up to 100 rings at any point throughout this level, because the Badnik placement could be about as bad as Dust Hill Zone, if not worse. Because the Sky Chase enemies are just, they're so they're just so sudden when you come into contact with them. It sucks. I hate it. Alright, but we're at the end at the very least. The aesthetic is actually nice, I'll admit that. And I guess this is the end of the ROM. They decided to put the final boss theme for the Metropolis boss. I like to believe that not only were these zones, I like to believe that at this point in the development with these zones, that the bosses that we got were also the only ones that had in development, and apparently, in the updated version of the Christian Whitehead version, with Hidden Palace, there's actually an exclusive boss. Yeah, that's the other thing. All the bosses in this ROM, they're all bosses in the finished product. But for some reason in Hidden Palace, in the Christian Whitehead version, I think, apparently, Robotnik has like this trombone-like thing. It's really strange. And the background is like, it looks like a giant organ. It's really weird. it's cool, I guess, but I, I wonder where that came from. I guess I don't know. But yeah, that's it. Those are all the levels that were scrapped. There might be again Cyber City. I don't know what happened with that because again there's apparently two versions of that. So you can obviously tell why a lot of these zones were scrapped during Casino Nights zones case tweaked. But it is at the very least interesting to think, what could have been. Like, if they just fixed some of the things in those zones, they probably could have gotten to the finished product. And heck, we live in a day and age where DLC is all over the place, so yeah, why not? You could have added some of these scrap levels as DLC if you managed to finish the assets. I'm sure it would have been nice for fans. But now that we did that, we are finally finished Sonic the Hedgehog 2. I'm glad I was able to do all this for you. I had a fantastic run, so yeah, that was fun. That was a good ride. But don't say goodbye to the blue blur just yet, because for the next Let's Play, apparently there was another Sonic game in development around the same time as Sonic 2, and that will be the next game we're checking out. You probably already know what it is, so look forward to it. So until then, I'm Sonic 007. I got a juice.